and welcome to Framed
Canvas, cuffs, and
Other Stuffs. This podcast is about crime
and art.
and our crime.
Wake up, pay attention,
We've got art.
and it's juicy. Oh,
My
we're doing
God. Welcome to Framed.
Thanks.
Canvas, cuffs, and other stuffs. I'm Steph,
I'm Joel.
and this is the first episode.
I know.
It's very weird.
I know it's very strange.
We look very professional, though.
We do, and the setup's really pretty as well. And yeah, I'm over-caffeinated, slightly sweaty, a bit jittery and skittish, so I'm ready to go.
I mean, that's me on my medication every day.
Yay.
It's like, I'm sweating all the time and always jittery. Should we talk a little bit about what this podcast is going to be about?
Sure, let's go.
So the whole premise of the overall podcast is I'm going to present you with a crime. You're going to try and solve the crime, and then I'll tell you how it is.
Oh.
So you've got to I'm going to give you a few suspects.
Actually, I think when we talked about it originally, I don't remember the solving part. Now I'm like, pressure's on.
Pressure's on. Don't worry, I'll give you some suspects, and there might be some pretty obvious clues.
Okay, all right, I got to get into my good cop, bad cop mode.
Jump straight into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
let's go.
Let me set
Hit
the
me.
scene. It is the morning of August 21st, 1911.
Oh.
It is Paris, and the sun is just starting to rise over the city.
Romantic.
Very. But amidst the tranquility of dawn, chaos is brewing at one of the world's most famous museums. The Louvre prepares to open its doors to the public. Through the halls walks Louis Bernard, an artist and museum employee.
He's done it. There we go. Episode
Solved.
finished.
And we're done. Thank you for listening. He walks through. It's his normal morning routine. He walks into a large room and he sits down to start painting the pieces of art on the wall of the Louvre, it was a really common thing back then. It was super strange.
Oh, but it's like when people go to, say, the NGV now and they take their little pencil and they just sit in front of the artwork and do their little sketches.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
And every time I walk past them, I go, oh, God, I should be doing that. And then
No.
I just keep walking.
So it was quite common for the Louvre to get a lot of employees and professional painters come in and repaint the masterpieces.
Okay.
So the people who went in and painted, they were never allowed to sell them, but it was to make sure that the Louvre always had a kind of historic document of what was happening at the time. So they would sometimes paint the actual paintings or they'd paint the room and the paintings within the room.
As almost like a backup
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, I think so.
If one of them, I don't know, fell off the wall or something like that, they
they'd be
would
like,
go, oh, hey,
this might be,
I've already forgotten his name. Dwayne?
hey, Louis
Oh, Louis. I was so close. Can we borrow your picture that you did?
of
And that's going to be
what they
the
showed.
thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they weren't ever allowed to sell them, but it was pretty legit forgeries.
Okay.
Sim, he's
Work.
about to sit down to start painting and he approaches the grand chamber. It's where the Mona Lisa usually sits.
Usually.
But his heart stops. The masterpiece where it usually hangs is empty.
She go.
Where's she off to, that Lisa?
Oh, she's been there for a while. Maybe she just needed to stretch her
Little
legs.
break. So what he does is he goes up to a security guard and says, hey, do you know where the Mona Lisa is? And the security guard's like, oh, someone's probably taken it up to the roof to photograph it.
Okay, everyone just needs to be a bit more professional here. Everyone's being a bit too
Casual. I mean,
blasé. It's the fucking Mona Lisa.
so
I mean, 1911, she wasn't as old as she is today.
She'd be about 500 years old today. It's quite common that a lot of these masterpieces would just randomly get taken off the wall by photographers, taken up to the roof and then just photographed and then put back. But no one would log it, catalog it, anything like that.
Okay, well, this is almost on them entirely, but yes,
I think you'll find a lot of this story might be on them.
Like I'm getting actively annoyed.
So they go up and the security guard goes and asks and the photographers are like, no, we didn't take it. Comes down. It's like, they didn't take it. Someone's probably taken it for some restoration. Louis like, okay, I'll come back in a little bit or I'll wait around for an
A
hour.
lot of someones and maybes and I don't knows here. I'm getting pissed off. I should be managing the Louvre.
I think at this time anyone could have managed
Yeah.
the Louvre better. But he waits a little bit and then he goes, all right, this is weird. So he goes and talks to some of the artists who do the restoration. He goes, you got the Mona Lisa? I'd love to see her. Need to paint my painting. And they're like, we don't have it. I don't know where she is. And they go, okay, let's have a look around the Louvre for her.
God.
So they look around the Louvre and she is nowhere to be found. And then they realize that maybe she's missing. So at this point they go, we better tell the director of the Louvre.
Oh, God, and you don't want to be that person.
He was on holidays.
Of course he was.
Then they decide it's probably time to call the cops.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. Could you imagine going into work and you're like, oh, this masterpiece is missing. All you're doing is adding on time.
Because you had a bad day. Come on now. Da-ba-da-da. That, I know that it was back in the day. No security like cameras or anything like that. You'd figure that they would have a pretty tight watch over Miss Lisa.
Yeah, you'd think.
The whole maybe she's here. I don't know where she is. I was on my lunch break. I was out having a cigarette. Like,
I mean, they're in France. They were probably having cigarettes in the Louvre.
everyone's just being a bit too blasé about it.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating to hear.
Yeah, it gets a little worse because
Okay.
they call the cops and everyone starts to really panic now because they realize this painting is gone.
Yeah.
What I failed to mention is the Louvre has actually been closed. It usually used to close on Mondays. So it would be open to the public up until Sunday night and then it would close on a Monday, open again on Tuesday. So we're currently on Tuesday
Like
morning.
Bergheim.
Yes, it is Bergheim. They suspect that the painting's probably been missing for at least 24 hours
for
and
God's
no
sake.
one's noticed. And 60 police officers arrive at the Louvre and they start combing through every room just to be sure that it's not there. There's 400 rooms in the Louvre.
Is that really?
Yeah, apparently so.
gosh.
And it's only this was 1911, so it would be even larger now.
She could be anywhere.
She could be anywhere. She could be hiding in the air vents. We don't know. When the police arrive, they find that there's just a couple of lonely hooks on the wall because that's all she was mounted on. Walter Littlefield from the New York Times reported that the police had found the frame downstairs. The thief had taken it out of the frame to get it out of the Louvre. The frame reportedly weighed 200 pounds, which for those who are on the metric system, it's 90 kilograms.
Okay.
So how did this person get it off the wall?
That's just lighter than me.
Yeah. So they've literally picked up this painting from the wall, gotten it down the stairs by themselves. Who knows? But they find a single fingerprint on the painting, like on the frame.
I must say that if my plan was to steal Mona Lisa, I would also take it out of the frame
Yeah.
because then you could roll her up.
She's on a wooden board. You can't roll her out.
Oh,
So it was one of the few paintings that actually wasn't on canvas.
okay, right.
So Da Vinci did a lot of his paintings on board because it was cheaper. So
Okay.
he's just being a cost-effective girl.
Yeah.
In the future, you'll find a lot of the time they do get rolled up, but this particular one, it was just in a really heavy frame. So
Hold
he was
her up,
just like
put her in your back pocket of
back
your
pocket
Levi's.
and away you go.
Guess what I've got in my pocket?
The fingerprinting thing is new for France and the cops. So they take the fingerprint. They also have to go through 70,000 fingerprints that they have on file to see if they have it already in the database.
Oh, what a drag. No computers.
No computers, and they have to do it all by eye. So you'd have to look at the fingerprint and then look at the other fingerprint and work out if it was the same. So it's not great tech.
Oh, I feel like I'd just kind of wing it.
Yeah, you'd be like,
Just
this
like,
seems
this one
right.
looks close enough. Go get Jacques von Flord. He did it.
He did it. Oh, he's
I
the
saw.
guy. I saw him. I saw him wiggle his way out of here.
Found his fingerprint 20 minutes.
Because the cops have taken so long to do all of this, the word of the heist starts to spread. It's starting to make headlines, and the front page of pretty much every paper is screaming like the Mona Lisa is missing. pretty much bagging out France and how they've lost this masterpiece. Now,
I'm imagining the spinning newspaper with the headline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is she?
It was also at a time where newspapers were starting to really become a thing. So it was like, oh, scandalo. Like we've got some real good gossip on our hands and we're really going to, spam it to everyone.
Who's Madonna's new boyfriend, all that kind of stuff.
All that kind of stuff.
She was around in 1911.
I mean, yeah, she's mummified at this point. So they lock down the borders. They're afraid that the painting is going to leave the country. So, babes, it's been 24 hours. If it was going to leave, it's already gone.
Check the ship.
It becomes the talk of the town, and theories start to speculate as of who could have committed this crime. The investigation unfolds, the city holds its breath, and within the first couple of days, so the Louvre actually shuts its doors for like 9 days while they try and work out what's going on. And then they reopen, and I think it's about 100,000 people come and look at the spot where the Mona Lisa once hung.
Oh.
And they like bring flowers and they're all really sad and they're in mourning. So they come and visit an empty wall.
But really, like a moment in history, like you'd want to see that
you want to be part.
wall.
You want to be snapping your Instagram photo being
I
like,
was there.
I did it. #art crime.
Yeah.
Before we jump into what happened, what do you know about Da Vinci?
So here's the thing. I create my own art. I do digital art. I love art. I can't get enough of this stuff. Art history, I'm really not there with. I really wish I could have paid more attention.
I mean,
in school, I'll tell you what I know about Da Vinci. He did the man with the man in the circle with the arms and legs. Did. I don't know if it's like a diagram of the
the perfect male
physique.
form.
Yes, he did Miss Lisa, her little impish grin, no eyebrows, a lot of biblical. Did he do biblical?
He did a lot of saints and stuff because he was,
Is he the one with the guy reaching out?
No.
No?
Same time frame though. So you're in the same area, but he did The Last Supper.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
I've got a story about The Last Supper.
Ooh.
I'm going to put my sister on blast. A few years ago, my sister and I were talking. She was recently hired at like a Catholic school. Mm-hmm. We were talking about like Catholicism, all that kind of stuff. And I was mentioning to her, like, I really love like biblical Catholic old school art. I find it so beautiful, all the oil paintings and whatnot. And she says, yeah, my gosh, I really love The Last Supper. How amazing is it that they got them all to sit there while it was being painted? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She thought that it was a painting that they sat down and posed for.
Like Jesus himself?
Yeah.
Like real Jesus?
Yeah. I don't think she'd put much thought into it. And then as she was saying it, she was realizing.
Like, and was like, oh,
yeah,
these people are fake.
I was like, oh.
This is a fictitious story.
Well, we've got to be careful
Allegedly.
But yeah, I'd like show me a few Da Vinci's. I'd know what they are.
You know him. Yeah. So he was born in 1452.
Yep.
He was actually a bastard child. So
beg your pardon.
I know. And I'm apologizing to all the Italians and French out there. I'm probably going to butcher some of these names. So he trained under the tutelage of Andrea del Riccio. I'm going to say that.
Is it two C's?
It is.
I think that's a ch. I think it's a ch. Could be wrong.
So he trained under him, we'll call him Andrea, in Florence, and his talent really blossomed there and captured the eyes of the Italian Renaissance elite. At the age of about 20, he was declared a master in painting. This guy would get Da Vinci to do a lot of details on his own work. So a lot of Da Vinci's work is actually within other paintings and not his own.
Okay.
Essentially, Leonardo was like, I'm super curious about everything. So he studied sculpture, painting, he studied the human body, and he also started to get really into inventing and trying to work out things.
That's right. Yeah.
So he actually got really into, I can never say, anatomy.
Yep.
And did a lot of studies about this. So you'll find that a lot of his drawings and stuff is more famous than his actual painting. So the book, not the show, the book Grey's Anatomy.
I was just about to say Grey's Anatomy.
Yes, he predates that. Believe that he kind of created what we know as modern medicine, like textbooks and stuff.
Yeah, as in like the diagrams, all that kind of stuff that would go in it.
So if I said to you, how do you think he got this information? What do you think he was doing to get all of these things correct? He was snatching corpses.
Okay, that's not what I was going for. I was thinking he was getting men and women to come to his thing, get undressed, and going there with like a magnifying glass, being like, all right, that's this.
Potentially.
No, stealing bodies. Okay.
Yeah, so he'd pay people to go and steal bodies for him, and it was believed he'd pay like I guess what they would class as a coroner now, and he'd take the bodies and then he'd cut them open. And
was this illegal at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
It was
well, you never know.
highly illegal.
You never know back then.
So authorities at that time, I mean, it's the 1500s, so what really cops are doing, I don't know.
Yeah.
They would come and talk to him, and he got into a bit of hot water about it, but
a bit of hot water. Stealing body. Stop it.
Stop it right
Stop
now,
that.
Da Vinci. Get it together. There is drawings of like fetuses and stuff. So a lot of people are like, oh, did you cut open a dead pregnant woman? Potentially.
I get it in the name of education. His desire to do all of that is a bit irksome to me.
Yeah, he was a weird guy, I think.
Yeah.
And as well, he was so ahead of his time, but it was just
I guess also that's what are they called? Coroners who inspect the dead bodies to kind of find out like what happened to them, their previous medical history and all that kind of stuff. Like they go into that field wanting to learn about that kind of thing. That could have just been one of the first instances of someone really being fascinated with that.
Yeah.
And there not being that much of an industry at the time.
Yeah, he created a whole...
He was like, well, snatch me some dead bodies. I want to see what's going on in there.
I want to see what's happening in there. What are the muscles doing?
Yeah.
So he also invented a lot of things and a lot of stuff that we use today that you don't think about, like bridge structures, stuff like that. But because he was so ahead of his time, a lot of stuff wasn't actually made. So he invented the first military tank, but it was never made. So it was a wooden structure. It had like machine guns coming out of it.
Okay.
But it was never made. And then now we kind of go, oh, he invented that well before we kind of picked up and went, oh, we should be doing that. There was also a lot of rumors around Leonardo. Everyone thought he was gay.
Yeah, well, honestly, as we've been talking, my spider sense has been tingling that he might have been a bit light in his loafers.
Never married, rumored to have many relationships with a lot of younger boys who worked under him.
The younger boys part in that age of time, really.
It was so at the time, a lot of the thought process, especially in like the Italian Renaissance and all that, like the 1500s, was that if you
like what was young in those times is what's raising some red flags to me.
10 maybe.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not.
But a lot of the time it was they would sleep with men because they wouldn't want to get someone pregnant. So it was more a means to an end of not getting someone pregnant.
Yes.
Because no contraception.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely why they were doing it.
Yeah, no other reason.
Imagine like your grinder pinging and it's Da Vinci and you go to his house, then you're trying to find the bathroom or something. You accidentally stumble on the room with all the cadavers. And you're just like, oh crap.
I've entered a madman's laboratory. He actually lived until 67. He only painted 20 paintings in his lifetime. Yeah, wore a lot of hats, but he only painted 20 paintings in total, like that were classed as finished. Wow. Over the span of 14 years, it is estimated, from 1503 to 1517, he crafted the masterpiece Mona Lisa. He actually created the Mona Lisa towards the end of his life. What do you know about her?
I've got more questions than I do
Go for it.
Me knowing about her. A, was she a real woman or did he conjure her up?
Mm-hmm.
B, like what age is she? She's kind of like, you can't really tell if she's like a younger or a middle-aged or what. She's just like a beautiful woman. And also I've heard rumors that it's like almost unfinished. There are like features and whatnot that are missing.
Yeah.
And also like the infamy behind it. Like, yes, it's a stunning portrait.
But why?
Why
is
like,
so
what's
famous?
the
Mona Lisa is a real person.
Yeah.
There was a rumor ages ago that it was Da Vinci in drag, but it's
I
I love that, but I don't think it is. Like,
Yeah.
I got a picture for you.
Okay.
Because this is visual and some people might be listening to audio.
Yes.
You can have a look at her right here.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. For those of you watching, I'll ding a picture up here.
Only just noticing now that she's wearing a little veil.
She is wearing a little veil.
Oh.
So that was something I only noticed recently too. The actual painting itself is not called the Mona Lisa. It's called in Italian La Gioconda.
Okay.
Her French name is La Joconde.
It is actually, like, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is a stunning. I think it's a real 10 out of 10 painting.
10 out of 10?
Yes.
You'd class it as a masterpiece?
Yes, I actually would.
The painting itself was sold to the French. So obviously he's an Italian painter. This masterpiece technically would be classed as belonging to Italy. But at the end of his life, he went and lived in France and he sold it to the French. Old Marie Antoinette's mate, King Louis, another King Louis, I think his name was. He actually kept it in Versailles for ages and then it went missing during the French Revolution.
Can't stay still.
She is a restless lady. The French Revolution happened, she went missing, and then they found her in Napoleon's bedroom.
Oh, Napoleon.
Napoleon, that dirty dog.
bugger.
Anyone who came across this painting really fell in love with the painting.
There is that.
It's an eeriness to it.
Yeah, there's something weirdly kind of like that draws you to her gaze.
Yeah.
And almost like a mermaid siren song. Like you just get immediately kind of it just happened to me then, just like looking at it on the iPad.
Yeah. So could you imagine being able to see it and seeing it like without glass, like being able to actually go up and probably touch it? After they found it in Napoleon's bedroom, they returned it to the Louvre because it was seen as it needed to belong to the public.
Yeah.
She was regarded as an interesting painting due to the fact that she was looking directly at us. At the time, you never painted women looking directly at you. And you clock that she's got no eyebrows or eyelashes.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice the eyelashes, but yes.
Yeah. It's actually thought that this wasn't an artistic choice. It's just that the paint and the varnish that Da Vinci used has faded over time. So it's unsure whether it was ever there or not. She's been restored many times, this painting. Believed her face shape has changed quite a bit over the 500 years we've known her, and some artists might have taken some artistic liberties.
Oh, no.
So they believe that the painting that we see now might not be like as true as what Da Vinci painted her as.
So people have gone over and over and over.
Yeah. Painting restoration is quite common, and a lot of the time people who do it, we've seen the bad ones. We always see the bad ones pop up. If you're doing it true, you shouldn't change the painting too much. There is a bit of a rumor that maybe her impish smile is a restoration. Yeah, it's a restoration. Everyone thinks that Da Vinci did it, but maybe it's become a bit more prominent over time. Also, the varnish has changed the color, so you can actually go online and see what she would actually look like if the varnish hadn't deteriorated over time. It's a lot brighter. There's also a dent in the elbow where a person threw a rock at her. So you'll see that there's a little crack. They didn't actually patch it up properly. They've just left it there.
Who's throwing rocks at Lisa?
Oh, just people being crazy. She's got her own letterbox where you can write her fan mail. These days, the painting is visited by 9.2 million visitors every year at the Louvre, and you get about 30 seconds to view her.
Yes, I've seen the crowd pictures.
However, before she was stolen, no one really cared about her. This is why it took so long for them to notice she was missing. It wasn't deemed the Mona Lisa as it is today.
Right.
So this kicked off her ascent to stardom.
Okay.
This is her redemption moment.
Right.
So they knew it was a good piece, and obviously people wanted to see it because it was in this part of the Louvre. It was classed as a important painting amongst other painters.
Yeah.
But the reality was the public didn't really care about her.
Okay.
So they only started to care about her when she disappeared. Let me take you back to France.
Yes.
Let me tell you how the crime was committed, and then I'll give you the suspects, and then we'll see if you can solve it.
Right.
So under the cover of darkness, a burglar, what's this high? Seizing the opportunity presented by the museum's closure on Mondays, is dressed in nondescript attire and is dressed kind of like a house painter. He blends in seamlessly into the background, and just before closing, he decides to hide in a storage room. So he hides in there, waits for the place to close up, and then on Sunday evening, he decides to come him out of his closet, go through the 400 rooms of the museum and steal a painting.
Okay, so he didn't have he was just like, I know I'm going to steal a painting. I don't know which one yet. Let me have a look.
Yeah. One of the reasons that the Mona Lisa was stolen because it's small. It's actually a lot smaller than you think.
Yes, I've heard people say she's quite petite.
When I went and saw her, you are struck with how small she actually is. You're like, we're all lining up for this. Witching hour approaches, emerges from his spot, heart pounding, rips the Mona Lisa off the wall, removes it from its frame.
I love witching hour. Is that like the 3 a.m.?
The 3 a.m.
Yeah.
When the veil is thinnest. He goes down the stairs and gets to a door. He has a key to the door, but the key doesn't work. So he's like, cool, I'm going to break the doorknob off this door so I can get out. As he's starting to get a bit like angsty and knocking this doorknob off the door, a plumber passes by, notices him struggling to get out, and opens the door for him. Yeah.
Bloody plumber.
The bloody plumber. So there's two accounts. He's either stuffed the Mona Lisa up his smock and he's just kind of walking around
with a bit of a square belly.
Or he's wrapped the Mona Lisa in the smock and he's just kind of carrying it under his arm.
Yeah.
Plumber opens the door. He's like, thanks, mate. I'll see you soon. Walks out. He passes through the security gates. At that exact point in time, the security guard has gone to get a bucket of water to do some cleaning.
Of course he fucking has.
So a lot of luck is involved in this heist. And he essentially walks off into the night, leaving no trail behind.
My God. What a stitch up.
Then obviously everyone comes in, finds it's missing. We've got to go and investigate this crime. So here are the suspects. We've got Eduardo del Vallaferno. So Eduardo is a real shadowy figure in the art crime world.
Done something like this before?
Yeah.
Right.
He apparently runs around with this kind of like art crime peoples.
He just can't get enough of
He
stealing
can't
paintings.
get enough. He's known as an art dealer, but he's known as an art dealer on like a bit more of a black market type situation. Like he just comes across these paintings that happen to be missing. Essentially wanted to steal the Mona Lisa so he could create multiple forgeries and sell multiple forgeries, claiming that it was the real one. Before he stole the Mona Lisa, he got Yves Cauldron, who was like a really famous forgerist at the time, to make these forgeries. He then shipped them out of the country before it was
Sporty
stolen.
Mona Lisa, Ginger Mona Lisa, Scary Mona Lisa.
They're all
Baby.
there. So they're all there. He ships them out so then that he's not stopped on the border, steals the Mona Lisa, puts the Mona Lisa somewhere and then goes off and sells off these 6 to people who want to own it. It also is said that he would then return the Mona Lisa, but he'd keep the real one and give them back a forgery. Begging the question, is the Mona Lisa real?
But he's not our only suspect.
He's not our only suspect. Suspect number 2 is Pablo Picasso.
Oh.
Old Pee-Pee.
Not Mr. Picasso.
He was in his 20s at the time. He was in the art world. He actually had purchased previously stolen art from the Louvre. So he already has a history of buying stolen art. So he knew someone, assistant to a poet, who would come across these like figures, and essentially what happened is Picasso would buy this art, probably knowing that it was stolen because he was tapped into the art world.
Yeah.
But he'd be like, oh, it wasn't me. Like I just happened to buy this stuff off this guy. It's not my fault.
No.
He's dodgy. He actually owns a couple of pieces that are previously stolen. So he's a
naughty Picasso. I had no idea.
Naughty boy.
Yeah.
Police talk to him and they're like, we don't know.
I'm not
vibing on the Picasso.
Not vibing on Picasso.
Feel like it would be a bit more maybe in the news if it was.
Definitely. So we know who did it.
We do know who did it.
No, it's not Picasso. I would have known.
Then we have Vincenzo Perugia. Vincenzo is a prime suspect because he was a former employee of the Louvre. He has familiarity with the layout. He knows people in the Louvre. He has access to the painting and knowledge that it might be quite valuable. He is a house painter and he has been sick with lead poisoning many times because at the time all paint was laced with lead. And it was one of the reasons why it kind of ruled him out because they're like, you're a dummy.
Yeah.
we don't think you're smart enough to commit this crime.
We mentioned he was in all white painting garb, didn't you?
Yes.
But then I remember you saying that he was having issues with the keys getting out.
Yeah.
And he had to get help to get out of there. I figured if someone was already working in that building, they would have figured all that out prior.
You'd think so. You'd hope so.
So I'm 50-50 with this guy.
You're 50-50 with this guy. Suspected that he would have stolen it because he wanted to return it to his hometown of Italy. He was ruled out as a suspect because they said, you're a big dum-dum and we don't think you have the capacity to commit the crime. And we have Apollinaire. He is a French poet and an art critic. He was known for his association with avant-garde artists, and he knew a lot of the art scene at that time. So he would have the contacts and the know-how to be able to get paintings and to be able to he knows the underground.
Yeah, right.
He became a suspect because he had acquaintances that tied him to the illegal art trade. His apartment actually was searched and he was briefly detained for questioning, but there was no real concrete evidence to link him to this robbery, so he was eventually released. Whilst he was being questioned, he was the one who dobbed in Picasso as well.
Oh. So he had ties with people who were involved in kind of art crime.
Yeah.
But he'd never previously been arrested or anything like that.
Before we jump in and before you make your first accusation.
J'accuse.
I've got a couple of pictures for you.
Okay.
So you can see the suspects.
Oh, okay.
So this is Eduardo.
Okay.
If you flick across, you've got Pablo Picasso when he was young, which in my mind when I saw him, I was like, he's like a cross between Fred Armisen and Hitler.
He really is.
When you look at him, you're like, that is Fred Armisen dressed maybe as Hitler.
Oh my gosh. He really is.
Your next one is Vincenzo.
Okay. Classic turned up twisty mustache.
Yeah, he does look like a traditional evil character.
Oh, that's an odd photo of the last one. Who's he?
He is the poet who was friends with Picasso. He looks rough.
Giving mad side eye.
He's a rough looking guy.
So I would date number 1 and number 3, twisty mustache.
Twisty evil mustache man.
And I always like the bad boys. So maybe it's one of them.
Would you like to make a tentative guess?
First cab off the rank is the number 1 guy. What was his rundown again?
His rundown was
4 points.
Oh, he was the one who sold it 6 times over.
Yes. Yeah, the one who kept duplicating.
Yeah.
And I think that's really clever. And he's obviously done it before. He knows his stuff. Number 3, he was in all white, like an art smock kind of thing. This guy has all of that garb. And the only questionable thing is how he was struggling getting out of the door.
Yeah.
If he knew the layout kind of the Louvre. But I think my alarm bells weren't ringing for Picasso. I think that's fake news. The number 3 guy, I'm just not. The number 4, the one who kind of alerted them about Picasso.
Yeah,
he's just a bit too on the nose for me because he looks. This picture, he looks very much the part, but I'm just like,
he looks a little too crazy.
Yeah,
he looks like a poet dressed as a thief. Like cosplaying.
He's in thief drag.
Yeah.
So mine number 1, insert name, whatever his name was.
Yep.
And number 3, twisty mustache.
Let's jump back in.
Okay.
The case goes cold.
Cold case.
It pretty much goes cold for about 2 years. Then all of a sudden, an art dealer in Florence receives a letter from a person called Leonardo.
Oh, DiCaprio.
He's done it again.
I knew he had something to do with this.
He's always got something to do with it. The letter was addressed to Alfredo. Yes, Alfredo. Jerry. And he was a well-known art dealer in Florence. He was really well-known, and the thief chose to contact him because he had expertise in being able to handle valuable art as well as authenticate valuable art.
Yes.
In the letter, the thief expressed his desire to return the stolen masterpiece in exchange for the monetary reward. So that was offered right off the bat from a couple of newspaper publications. They said, if you bring back the Mona Lisa, we'll give you like 50,000 francs.
Yep.
50,000 francs in today's money is $84,000.
Wow.
He's asking for his $84,000, which is quite a steal to get the Mona Lisa back. The negotiations that Alfredo had to have, I just love that his last name is Jerry, but I'm going to call him Alfredo because Alfredo's just a better name.
Yeah. And Jerry Alfredo sounds a bit, but Jerry as the last name just doesn't hit the ears. It hits the ears wrong.
He has several conversations with Leonardo. Also, let's talk about how he called himself Leonardo, this guy. Like, come on. So he has a few conversations. There's enough evidence for Alfredo to want to meet with him, but he's kind of like keeps falling through. He's like, oh, I'll meet you here. Actually, no, sorry, busy. Like, soz babes.
Just rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
So this guy claiming that he has her, he's called himself Leonardo.
Yep.
As in he's pretending to be Da Vinci, or he's just...
I think he's just paying reference
he's
or
like
homage.
trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's being a little cheeky boy. They arrange to meet every time it falls through, and he's like, okay, this is getting really weird. Can you finally like meet with me?
Yeah.
After many months, because obviously they're writing letters to each other. After many months, they finally meet in a hotel.
Why is this getting horny?
He takes him out upstairs and he opens up this suitcase, and the suitcase is filled with shit, broken objects, tools, heaps of random pliers. And then this guy's like, oh my God, I've been brought here to killed or something. Like, this is very strange.
Where my mind would go.
After a moment, once the trunk is, emptied, he opens up a trap door or a false bottom of this trunk. And wrapped in red silk is the Mona Lisa.
There she is.
There she is. What happens next is really weird. Alfredo convinces Leonardo, hey, let me take this back to my gallery to authenticate it. At that point, he's held it up to the light. He knows what he's looking for. So he knows what's on the back, that the Louvre has marked it. Like, he knows that it's legit at this point.
Yeah.
But he's saying, I need to run more tests. Let me take it back to the lab. Leonardo is like, okay, you can do that. Take the painting off Leonardo and they take it back to the lab. They do a couple of tests and then they immediately call the police and the Louvre and say, hey, just so you know, we've got the Mona Lisa now. He calls the cops. The cops go and arrest Leonardo.
He's a bit of a dumbass.
So who do you think did it?
Well, did you mention that he was a tall, skinny man with a mustache?
Yes.
It's my guy. Yep. It's Twisty Mustache Man.
And some would call him Vincenzo Perugia.
Is that him?
It is.
Oh, I got it.
I'm going to say that Eduardo, although he was the one who sold it 6 times over.
Yes.
Although he is super interesting, it is potential that Carl Decker, the reporter who wrote about him, actually just made him up.
Gotcha.
So everyone was a real suspect, but Eduardo is not confirmed to be a real person.
Okay.
So he stole the art, and obviously he stole the Mona Lisa because it wasn't as famous. So I think in his mind, he probably thought that it would be easier to sell on the black market.
And then he had trouble doing it.
Then he had trouble because it got so much press that it became such like what they call like a hot item that no one would want to buy it because it's like, well, I don't want to own this stolen piece of art. When you steal art, usually what you do is you set up something called a fence. And that means that the person who stole the art and the person who buys the art, they never meet. There's a fence in between, and that person does all of the correspondence between the two.
Yes.
So Perugia never set up a fence. He just went in, stole the painting and walked out with it with no plan afterwards, except to maybe sell it.
Yeah.
It's also assumed that he wanted to bring the painting back to Italy because he was a staunch Italian, he believed that the painting belonged in Italy where the artist lived and worked and was born.
So it was my hot mustache idiot all along.
It was. So
I kind of feel bad for him. He seems like just a bit of a dummy.
And you know what? He's been sniffing lead paint for too long.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe the lead's kind of got
into
his
brain. His meticulous planning and execution of the heist were evident in his ability to navigate the museum because he obviously knew all about it. He could just walk in, go pick it up, but it was weird that the key didn't work, I guess. Perugia acted alone. He never implicated anyone, but it is a bit of a question mark because obviously it's a heavy painting. Small, but heavy because it was 90 kilograms in the frame. So it is maybe suggested that he had someone to work with.
I think he went solo.
You think he's flying solo with this one?
He's flying solo.
Yeah. He said that he stole the Mona Lisa because it was smaller in size and more manageable and less likely to arouse suspicion. So he chose the smallest painting he could find. It ultimately led to his downfall when he tried to profit off the stolen masterpiece.
Yes.
So it ended in arrest and conviction. So in 1913, in December, he was sentenced to over 1 year and 15 days in prison.
I mean, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
That's pretty good.
I mean, I'm probably going to steal a masterpiece, and if it means I only have 1 year in jail, like, that's pretty fun.
But their jails were like dungeons back then.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been nice.
No.
I feel like...
It wouldn't have been nice.
It wouldn't have been... Prison. It's not that nice. Yeah. The interesting thing is the Mona Lisa never actually left France. It was in his apartment the whole time. It was said as well that sometimes he'd just like pull it out to show people, his friends and stuff.
God bless him.
I think
He's a bit naive. Yeah. And I think the lead poisoning definitely played a bit of a role in the way he went about this entire thing.
Yeah, I think he was probably like...
He's a bit of a sexy idiot.
Yeah, he was a bit of a dum-dum. And we love a dum-dum, but he was just not smart.
No.
He only served 7 months of his time in jail.
Okay.
And he was released from prison in 1914. That was it. That was his
stint.
Just a little stint. He ended up spending the rest of his days... he was convicted in Italy, so that's why his sentence was probably a bit less.
Yeah.
But he spent his days he changed his name and went back to France and opened up a little paint shop and sold paints to people.
Without lead in them.
I think there was still lead in there. I think.
So if he was convicted in France, it would have been a bit more brutal.
I think they might have been a bit more brutal because he had stolen from them, whereas in Italy, everyone was like, hey, you're doing it for us.
Yeah, it was like a bit patriotic of him. He just didn't have the wherewithal to follow through with his kind of all over the shop plan.
The Mona Lisa was returned, and in the 2 days after she was returned, over 100,000 people visited her.
There you go.
And it's why she is one of the most famous paintings in the world now, all because of old Perugia.
Chromatica era.
Loves it.
She's moved on from art pop. She's ready to make it big.
She's
world
ready.
Tour.
Yeah, she's going to do a collaboration again with Beyonce. We can only hope. It's her renaissance. Obviously, Mona Lisa has spent the majority of her time now back in the Louvre. You go and see her. You get 30 seconds with her behind glass, very far away. She did have a little stint in America. Old Jackie O was friends with, I think, the French Prime Minister at the time.
JFK's wife.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And so she, to his ear, said, hey, do you want to bring her to America? And he was like, okay. She's the reason why Americans fell in love with her again, I believe, in the 60s.
Yeah.
The reason why she's so famous is because she was stolen all those years ago, which...
I mean, so it's a good thing that he kind of did steal her because it really brought her to fame.
Yeah, give him 10% of ticket sales.
Yeah.
Give him that 10%.
At least merch or something.
Yes, 10% of merch sales to him. Yeah, that's it. That is the story of the missing Mona Lisa.
I've got a quick question.
Go.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Is the Da Vinci Code real?
No.
Okay.
But... I live in hope that it is, and everyone's just like, it's not real.
That's where there's like little mysteries underneath his paintings.
Yeah. Jesus has like a descendant line, so it's like you can actually track who is a descendant from Jesus. I think.
And a map to the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes, and then Harry Potter comes out and wiggles his wand and says, Avada Kedavra. Any thoughts, any feelings on Perugia?
I mean, I've got a bit of a soft spot for him.
For your sexy thief.
Yeah, I mean, the mustache, hello.
Hello.
But also the fact that he's a bit of a dummy, I find that quite endearing.
Yeah.
He didn't overshoot his shot. He just went for a small painting. I feel like at the end of the day, he did have okay intentions, meaning that like this should be in Italy. God bless him, but he just didn't have it all there to really be the criminal mastermind I think he wanted to be.
He fumbled the bag.
He fumbled the bag.
I stand him.
And I caught him.
You caught him.
I caught him on my first go.
You're so smart.
Get me on every crime podcast.
And you are solving you are an armchair expert at solving crimes.
Unsolved mysteries are going to be solved mysteries.
Whole case, no more.
Hot case.
This is a hot case. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.
If you liked it, give us 5 stars. If you didn't, don't
let us know.
Don't let us know. We don't want to
break
hear.
our hearts.
We don't.
No.
We're sensitive souls.
We really are.
We couldn't
and we'll
handle.
be looking as well.
Yeah, we couldn't handle it.
I don't think I could.
And share this podcast with one friend.
Just one. Even if you've only got one friend, share it with them.
That's it.
Okay.
Goodbye.